For thousands of years, life began with a heartbeat inside a mother's womb, a silent miracle that shaped civilizations, emotions, and identities. But now, humanity stands on the brink of rewriting that ancient code. In a quiet laboratory, a transparent pod hums softly. Inside it, a human embryo floats, suspended in a synthetic fluid, connected to a web of artificial veins. There's no mother, no womb, only precision. This is the dawn of artificial birth. It began as science's answer to infertility and premature birth. But as the technology evolved, it promised something far greater: control. Control over life itself. Scientists call them ectolife chambers, self-sustaining biopods that replicate every function of a human womb. Temperature, nutrition, oxygen, even sound. Some are already capable of mimicking a mother's heartbeat, letting the fetus bond with synthetic pulses. At first, the world was fascinated. Imagine, no more pregnancy risks, no pain, no genetic defects. Women could choose not to carry, couples could design healthier babies, and nations saw a way to solve population decline. But beneath the surface of excitement, a quiet unease began to grow. If life can begin anywhere, does birth still hold meaning? If we can choose the traits of our children, are we still human? Or have we become designers of a species that no longer resembles us? In 2050, Japan unveiled the first complete artificial womb city, a facility where 30,000 embryos grew simultaneously, each monitored by AI midwives. It was hailed as the end of infertility, but for some it was the end of something else, the end of nature's design. As more countries adopted the technology, birth rates shifted dramatically. Traditional hospitals closed maternity wards. A child born naturally became rare, and eventually remarkable. In less than 2 generations, people began to ask, why risk natural birth when technology guarantees perfection? And just like that, humanity's most intimate connection, the bond between mother and child, began to fade. We entered a new era, where life is engineered, optimized, and uploaded before it's even born. A world where nature is optional, but every breakthrough comes with a price. And soon the first generation of lab-born humans would reveal that not everything inside those glass wombs was as perfect as promised. Step inside the futuristic labs that are shaping humanity's future. White walls stretch endlessly, filled with softly glowing pods, each containing a tiny life. Nurses in sleek uniforms glide silently between them, but their hands never touch the babies. Everything is controlled by AI systems, monitoring heartbeats, brain activity, and chemical balance in real time. This is the synthetic womb revolution. What began as experimental science has now become a high-tech industry, rivaling the size of traditional healthcare sectors. Startups and governments are racing to develop safer, more efficient, and more controllable wombs. The race isn't just about creating life, it's about shaping it. Parents no longer carry the burden of biology. Instead, they choose from genetic profiles, selecting eye color, height, intelligence markers, and resistance to diseases. Even subtle personality traits, predispositions for empathy, leadership, or creativity, can now be influenced in utero. What emerges is not merely a child, but a designed human, optimized for a future that feels increasingly uncertain. Yet this technology raises profound questions. Ethicists warn that the line between science and playing God is thin. Will society divide into naturals and designed? Will those born the old-fashioned way be seen as inferior, less capable, or even unlucky? The shadow of social inequality grows as the gap widens between those who can afford perfection and those who cannot. Meanwhile, experimental labs are pushing boundaries further. Some scientists explore accelerated gestation, growing embryos in weeks instead of months. Others attempt virtual bonding systems, where AI mimics the emotional connection of a mother and father, embedding familiarity, recognition, and love before the first cry. Public reaction is mixed. Some celebrate the liberation of women from pregnancy and childbirth. Others fear the loss of tradition, intimacy, and the human touch that has defined life for millennia. And across social media, debates rage. Should governments regulate this technology, or should evolution take its new AI-guided course? By 2080, it is predicted that over half of all births in major urban centers will occur in artificial wombs. Hospitals will evolve into womb factories, with AI midwives supervising thousands of developing embryos. The quiet hum of machines replaces lullabies and whispered words. Humanity begins to witness a transformation that no one fully anticipated. And yet, in this sterile perfection, something vital is missing. The unpredictability of nature, the randomness of life, and the messy, beautiful imperfections that define human existence. Scientists call it the perfect generation, but philosophers whisper of the soulless generation, children who may grow up healthy, intelligent, and flawless, yet disconnected from what once made life profoundly human. The revolution is underway, and in the shadows of these glowing pods, the seeds of society's next great challenge are already being sown. As artificial wombs proliferate, an entirely new class of humans begins to emerge, the design generation. Unlike any generation before them, their lives are meticulously planned before the moment of birth. Every gene, every trait, every potential is analyzed and optimized. Parents choose what matters most: health, intelligence, athletic ability, resilience, even emotional balance. In some laboratories, AI systems simulate entire lifespans, predicting how a child's abilities might evolve in various environments. Based on these predictions, modifications are made in the early stages of embryonic development. These are not guesses. They are calculated designs, crafted with precision algorithms that aim to minimize failure and maximize potential. The consequences ripple through society. Schools, workplaces, and sports begin to notice the difference. Children born naturally struggle to compete against peers who were genetically optimized for intelligence, reflexes, or creativity. The term naturals begins to circulate, a label once reserved for authenticity, now tinged with inadequacy. Yet perfection carries unforeseen costs. While designed humans excel academically, socially, and physically, some show unexpected emotional voids. Over-engineering removes randomness, which also removes resilience. Some lack empathy, others struggle with unpredictability. Philosophers and psychologists warn, perfection may come at the price of humanity itself. Even governments become involved. Policies are drafted to regulate the pace of genetic design, balancing societal equity with scientific progress. Some countries impose strict rules. No DNA editing beyond health markers, no selection for intelligence or appearance. Others allow private companies to sell enhanced traits to the highest bidder. A global class divide begins to emerge, not just of wealth, but of birth itself. Meanwhile, black market labs exploit the loopholes. Underground clinics advertise designer miracles, creating children with extreme traits, prodigies, athletes, or even unusual genetic mutations. The line between ethics and ambition blurs. In a world where DNA can be purchased, morality becomes negotiable and the stakes are human lives. In homes, schools, and playgrounds, the design generation grows up aware of their engineered advantage. Some embrace it proudly, seeing themselves as pioneers of a new species. Others question their identity, wondering if they are truly themselves or merely the sum of parental and technological ambition. The first generation of natural-born humans begins to feel alienated, struggling to find purpose in a world designed for engineered excellence. Will society adapt, or will these divisions spark conflict, resentment, and unrest? In laboratories and classrooms alike, one truth becomes undeniable. The age of natural birth is waning. And as DNA becomes destiny, humanity teeters on the edge of an unprecedented ethical, emotional, and societal transformation. By the late 21st century, society faces an unprecedented divide, the line between naturals and engineered humans. What was once the miracle of birth has now become a marker of privilege, status, and opportunity. Cities hum with artificial womb factories, while natural births become rare events, often met with awe, pity, or even stigma. The engineered generation thrives in every measurable way. They excel in academics, sports, creativity, and problem-solving. Their bodies are stronger, their minds sharper, and their immunity virtually flawless. They are, in many ways, humanity's pinnacle. Yet perfection casts a shadow. The natural, those born without design, find themselves marginalized. Jobs, schools, and competitions favor engineered traits. Children who are naturally born face prejudice, subtle or overt. Some embrace their humanity proudly, cherishing unpredictability and emotional depth. Others are left feeling inadequate in a society that increasingly values calculated advantage over authentic experience. Ethicists and philosophers debate furiously. Some argue that engineered humans are no longer truly human, that stripping away randomness and imperfection, erases the essence of what it means to be alive. Others counter that evolution has always been driven by human ingenuity, and that using science to create stronger, smarter humans is merely a continuation of natural selection in a technological age. Governments struggle to respond. Some countries enact laws limiting genetic enhancements, aiming to protect naturals and maintain societal balance. Others embrace the New World Order, promoting advanced engineering as a path to global competitiveness. Wealth and power begin to correlate not just with money, but with the type of birth a person has. This ethical divide seeps into every facet of life. Social clubs form based on birth type. Universities create separate tracks for naturals and engineered. And even sports leagues segregate athletes based on DNA optimization. Friendships, marriages, and careers are influenced, sometimes determined by this new hierarchy. Meanwhile, underground movements rise to defend naturals. Advocates argue that unpredictability, imperfection, and natural growth are vital to human creativity, empathy, and resilience. They warn that over-engineering could lead to a society that is efficient but hollow, brilliant on the surface but fragile at its core. The tension between these two groups grows, hinting at societal unrest. Could the divide spark conflicts the world has never seen? Will engineered humans and naturals coexist peacefully? Or will inequality breed rebellion, fear, and chaos? And yet, despite the turmoil, the world continues to advance. Artificial wombs hum. Embryos float in their pods, and the next generation of engineered humans grows quietly, unaware of the ethical storm surrounding them. The stage is set for a confrontation, not just of science and society, but of the very soul of humanity itself. The 22nd century dawns, a world where natural birth has almost vanished. Hospitals once filled with the cries of newborns are silent. Instead, sterile biolabs glow with the pulse of synthetic life. Thousands of embryos suspended in glass. Humanity's next chapter growing without pain, love, or chance. For many, it's the ultimate victory over nature. Diseases are eradicated before birth. Intelligence is pre-coded, and even emotional temperaments are selected for stability. Humanity has achieved control, but at a cost no one fully foresaw. Children born from artificial wombs begin to ask unsettling questions. Who am I? Why was I chosen to exist this way? They are flawless by design, but haunted by an invisible void, the absence of connection to the chaos of creation itself. They have never felt a heartbeat from within a mother, never known the randomness that once shaped humanity's soul. Society begins to fracture again, not between naturals and engineered this time, but between the designed and the disillusioned. The new generation, raised on perfection, starts rebelling against it. They crave unpredictability, mistakes, love that isn't calculated, beauty that isn't symmetrical. Underground communities emerge where people choose to live imperfectly, rejecting upgrades, disabling implants, even attempting forbidden natural pregnancies in secret. Governments react with fear. Natural birth becomes outlawed in some regions, labeled as biological instability. Surveillance drones patrol maternity wards. Humanity, in its quest for total control, begins policing its own creation, terrified of the chaos it once called life. And yet amidst all the control, something unexpected happens. A woman, a scientist who once helped perfect artificial wombs, disappears from her lab. Months later, the world is shaken by a viral image. A naturally born child, the first in decades delivered in secret and alive. She names him Adam Nova, symbolizing both beginning and rebirth. The image ignites the world. To some, the child is a miracle. To others, a crime. Riots break out. Debates reignite, and faith, long overshadowed by science, it resurfaces in powerful ways. People begin to wonder if humanity went too far trying to rewrite its own creation story. The film closes with a haunting question. If perfection means losing our humanity, was it ever worth it? As the camera pans out, we see the world split between glowing cities of engineered life and distant wilderness where naturals hide and rebuild. Two futures, one species. One chasing perfection, the other clinging to meaning. And somewhere the cries of a newborn echo through the night, reminding the world that even after all the science, all the control, and all the design, life, in its rawest form, still finds a way.